Good evening, everyone. Monday night, 8 p.m. can mean only one thing. The Online Darts Live Lounge returns. Myself, Phil Bars, and Dan Simpson in the house to guide you through the next couple of hours. Plenty of talking points. That is for sure. Never a dull moment in the world of darts. The European Tour was on fire this weekend for more reasons than one. Grand Prix qualification. Big guns outside the qualification places for the European Championships. We will be joined by Scott Hunt as well, Global Operations Director of the ADC. So plenty to come your way over the next 2 hours. Dan, how are we today?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, I'm recovering a bit. It was massively self-inflicted, but I had a relatively busy, quite heavy weekend. Lots to do, lots going on, but yeah, all is well. Like it's got cold. Like I feel like it's the winter. I cut the grass at the weekend, and I feel like it could be the last one of the year. That I feel like we're into the autumn up here now. Everything. I went to the supermarket earlier. There was pumpkins in it. It's becoming a little bit autumnal. How are things down your way?
I'm not hearing you, but are you asking me to step in?
I tell you what, it will be very soon before you will be being invited to step in, mate. It is. I've just like I know we said like last week. I'd realised that when we started the show, it was dark now. It's pitch black outside, and I was in the supermarket today. I was walking around with the supermarket, and I saw the pumpkins, and I thought, oh, fucking hell, like it's there now, isn't it? Like, and it is. It very much seems in our house like everything gets decorated for Halloween, and then we take them down, and it's like the Christmas goes straight back up. So we are on like. It's the business end of the year for darts fans. The calendar, like every time we seem to have a chat, I bring the calendar up, and I think like there is no time without not even, and it's not even darts being on, but it's big stuff that's important that means things. Like it's all coming thick and fast at the minute. Very exciting, but yeah, it's bloody busy.
Chat room is rammed already. Scott is in. Malachi, how are we doing? Dal is in. How are we doing, my friend? Video Smurf. Fraser, cheers, buddy. Thank you very much. Yeah, always good chatting with AD. I've still got plenty of stuff to edit tomorrow or tonight and tomorrow as well. Kieran, how are we doing? Paul is in. Is that true up yet? Not yet. Evening. Chris Wayne is in. I'll star that, Fraser, and we'll come back to that when we talk about the World Grand Prix. Matthew, good evening. Marcus, evening, lads. Richard is in. Connor, Rob, holla. How we doing, mate? Mark, how are you, my friend? Daniel is in. James, Warren, Mike. Oh, I tell you what, it is rammed already. And look, before we dive into like proper darts and so on, we'll do a bit of cross sport here, because last night our WhatsApp chat was rammed. Talk about one sport, and it's been spoken about in darts so often, but it's topical because of what happened last night. The Ryder Cup, the drama was off the charts yesterday. Yeah. How much does darts need that version in it? The team element, it was just gripping. And could you imagine darts doing that?
Oh, I think it's the one thing that is missing, isn't it? You know, we've talked a lot about the World Cup. You know, we talk about it every year, and giving players slightly something different to play for, a different view and a different format, and playing doubles. But I just think it's like having those two-person teams. It's not enough. It doesn't feel as different, and therefore it's not as interesting, because it looks a lot like a lot of the darts that we see. When we were watching the golf over the weekend, I think the very, very simple fact that we, you know, instead of watching a round of golf all day, you have just got that peril on every hole of people winning. You know, they're one up or they're two up or it's tied, and I just think in terms of action, the scoreboard moves that much quicker. Things swing. The pendulum moves from side to side a bit easier. I think it makes it, you can get casual people engaged much, much easier with a format like that. You know, we've seen lots of people come up with different constructs of how it could work in darts. I don't think, unfortunately, I don't think we are there where we can do a Team Europe versus Team Rest of the World. I don't think that's an interesting. I don't think it's an interesting spectacle. I think that it's too heavy on one side. I think you could do Great Britain and Ireland against
the rest
Europe.
of the world.
Yeah, I think you could do that. And I think if you look at the rankings, I think, if you look at what that would be, if you say automatically selected the top, 8, 10 players from, in the rankings from both those categories, and then give yourself a couple of captains picks as well, then I think you would probably get a very competitive set of matches, and I think if you then stage it like they do in the golf, where there's different elements of that, whether it's 4 balls or foursomes and then singles, and if you mix that in with some double in, if you mixed it in with again, there's all sorts you can do with those concepts. Whether it's be straight, or you could add other formats of the game. But yeah, I think it would be absolutely spectacular. Like it will be amazing.
So here's one for you. Now, the Ryder Cup, again, creates drama because there's multiple stuff going on at once, not just one game.
Yes.
So, could we have it in an arena where there is 3 stages going on at once? So you're gripped, something's happening on stage 1. There's a massive cheer on stage 2. Stage 3 is just getting underway, all in the same...
Perhaps. I don't know how that... I think what that is, and we've been in, we've done it. I think that has all of the excitement and the loveliness that is like a multi-board room, at a UK Open or something like that, where everybody loves that. I'm not sure how that then comes across on television and how irritated you then end up being cutting from, because it's simply something we're not used to. It's, it would be something very, very new to darts, cutting away mid-game, and to feature, even when we've seen multi-board rooms, we generally wait until a break of play in the game that's on before we feature something else. So this idea that we'd be, you like golf, you would sort of cycle the games through. I'm not sure how that, how it would work, and B, if people could sort of enjoy that. I don't know how enjoyable that would be. But I think if you're in the venue, it could be incredible. And if you've got multiple screens up in a venue and you can look at different things, then I think that's really, really good. But I don't know how that comes on television. I think you might have to just run singles games one after the other.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking the dynamic. So are we saying, like, we go full, there is a non-playing captain on each side? Now, what are we doing? 12-man teams?
Yeah, 10 and then 2 captains picks, I think.
I'd go 8 and 4.
Yeah, you see, but you're going to erode the quality there. But you are going to get...
I think there's plenty enough quality to do it.
I just think what you let... The difficulty is it's... And this is a problem with darts, right? Is who picks the captain's picks? Because let's be really honest, it might not be the captain. Like it could be the sponsors, or it's so. What you might do is
it's full. If you're going to do it right, and this goes with the scheduling as well, right? The PDC, Sky, whoever sponsors it, fuck off. You ain't getting involved in these picks.
Yeah.
Your 2 captains, they pick who they want to pick. And also that goes with the order that the captains pick the order of their triples, doubles, singles, or whatever. Not prime time that we have Humphreys, Littler, and MVG the last 3 games. No. If the captain wants them on first, they go first.
So who would your captains be? Is that where we have to start? As to who your captains will be?
Well, Henry's just sent me a message. This would be brilliant as well. I'm not sure for the first 2, but Mason and Van der Voort as captains, because that would stir it up.
I mean, it would stir it up. I think you'd have to have someone in the office with a very sharp finger on the beat button. I think the beat box would have to be. It's very watchable. It's very watchable. I think it's.
I suppose for the first one, you'd have to have Phil captaining one.
Yeah.
And probably John Park captaining the other.
I wouldn't have said. I'll tell you what I would have said. I would have said, because he's not going to qualify for the team. Therefore, you'd have Phil and Barney. Because they are recognised, again, whether or not, regardless of what you think of Barney coming back and the retirement tour and everything, you the way that you can sell that and promote it is very, very commercial. You then don't lose John Park from the broadcasting team as well. I think that's.
I'm a fan of this, Taylor, and then Lewis and Mason as far as I'm a fan. People are getting involved in this.
Yeah, I mean it's a brilliant idea. I don't know if it can work. I don't know if it, but it's a brilliant. The concept could be amazing. And like I say, if you've got those captains, and then you'll probably have some drama because the captains' picks might not be who everybody thinks they should be. People might disagree. You might end up with captains' picks that haven't got a tour card. That might be like if the rules allow for that. Yeah, this is it. So you could end up with the captain could pick themselves. Imagine that, just like tearing off the shirt and the plain shirts underneath it. There could be all sorts of drama. It's a lovely concept. But yeah, I think I'd have two. I think that's
so right. Then 3 days. The Friday. What are we doing? Triples or doubles on the Friday?
Yeah, I don't like triples as a concept. I don't think it's too busy.
It's different. It's that different element.
Yeah. Doubles. But how do we do? How do we
Sunday make is singles. Sunday's your 12 singles. You've got 12
points. Sunday's your single.
On a Sunday. They're your singles. You've got 12 points available on a Sunday.
But I'd go double in doubles.
Oh, I like that.
Definitely double in doubles.
Double in doubles, yes.
Because it's chaotic. Like a double in doubles is chaotic, isn't it? Anything can happen on that one. And then I think double in doubles is interesting because it gives the captain it gives decisions to make. Because if some of the games are double in and some of them aren't, and the captain can choose who's going to play those double in games and who's going to play the straight off games, and I think you just then increase that drama a little bit, and there's a bit of tension as to who gets and why hasn't he been picked for that one, and why has he not picked him for that? I think it makes it a bit interesting.
I like that. Now the other question is, do you go leg play or do you go set play?
For me, it's a combination of both. I think over the course of the weekend, you have some of your some of your sessions are leg play and some of you are set play, because again, all you're playing for is points, aren't you? So it doesn't matter what the score is. You can either, it is what it is. So I would mix it up. I would have a mixture of like chaotic set play matches where the tide swings backwards and forwards, and like some fairly long form best of 19 straight match play games. I think I'd have a combination of them both. Because again, I think there is a choice there for the captain as to whether or not people get put in the double in games or the straight off games, whether or not somebody gets put into a leg play match or a set play match, and where you use your strengths and weaknesses of the team. I think is quite interesting. I think you've got there are enough very big name players that currently sit outside of the rankings, or where they would be ranked automatically to qualify for that event. So the likes of Nathan Aspinall, for example, would be reliant on a captain's pick, being made a captain's pick. And does the captain pick him after the way he's played or the year he's at? And I think then you get an awful lot of intriguing views and content coming out of it, don't you?
Do you think the players would buy into this?
Some would, some wouldn't. Some wouldn't give a shit. Some would only care. Some would care depending on what the prize money was. And do you get paid to? Do you win money for winning individual games? Do you only get paid the big bucks if your team wins? You know, what is the?
It has to be big bucks for team, not individual.
Well, so then I don't know how intrigued you get certain players who. See, there's no real. I think if you say if someone's going to play for their country, you know, if you're going to get some people and they're going to play for England or they're going to play for Wales, like you'll tend to find that they can motivate themselves pretty well, and they will enjoy and be keen to represent their country. You know, whether it's Scotland, Wales, or wherever it is. I don't know how motivating it is for players to play, or some players to play for Great Britain and Ireland team, for example. I don't know how many of them would be excited about that. Some of them may see themselves more as, Welsh than British, or everyone's a bit different. Again, the rest of the world team, I think it's difficult to excite players to represent, the rest of the world. It's a bit, there's no great allegiance. There's nothing to really get too attached to. So then you're relying on the novelty, aren't you? You are relying on the novelty of it, and it being intriguing and exciting, and players wanting to go and prove something and win it. But yeah, I think you're probably going to have to pay appearance money, because they're not just going to go. But I think it's.
Or do you go the other way and say, okay, if you're going to be a dick and only doing it for money, fine, we're not picking you. You pick players that want to be involved in it to get the spectacle right on TV. And it might take a few years to grow into this, become a massive event. And then all of a sudden, when the viewing numbers are through the roof, the social analytics are through the roof, then everyone's going to want to be a part of it.
Yeah, and that is the case, isn't it? And we've seen over the years what the Premier League has grown in and how important it is to those players to be at the Premier League. I'm not likening it to the City, but I'm just saying we've seen something that's gone from something that players would like to be part of, and it would be nice to be part of. It's become almost one of the biggest things that can happen to someone in their career is to be in that. And you just have to look at what it would grow into and what it could be. Yeah, it's interesting from Paul as to what the frequency would be, whether you'd think of something that you'd do annually or every other year, or what that frequency would look like. Here's
one. Could you alternate it? 1 year you do the Ryder Cup, or whatever we're going to call it. The other year you do the World Cup. You alternate. It's Ryder Cup year. It's World Cup year.
Yeah, I don't dislike that, but I've had lots and lots of thoughts about the World Cup and how it needs to. I still think the World Cup needs to be in a different country every year. I think we should have a darts World Cup that moves around. It should be at Madison Square Garden 1 year. It should be somewhere in the oceanic regions another year. It should be in Japan 1 year. Like I that's where I would like to see from the World Cup. And I suppose doing that every other year gives you a bigger lead up to that. You can make it more special. You can make it, you've got more time to promote it, sell tickets, get people interested. If you are going to start moving it around, then you need to sell a decent sized venue. But I think the World Cup's been in need of some tweaks for a while. And it could be a good opportunity that you can do a bit more with it if you take it off the calendar a bit.
To be fair, I think that the chat room are getting behind this. I'm really, really liking this. I think this could be so good. I genuinely do. And I think, like you say, I think certain players to start with wouldn't buy into this.
And we know, there's some of them out. We know they just think, well, okay. But then but you never quite know, do you? Like, as I say, sometimes
I'm looking like the younger players would certainly buy into this.
Of course, yeah,
because they can appreciate. Hang on a minute, what this can do.
But this is also where the key is to get captains who will get people on side, because there are certain people that wouldn't be interested at all, but if a particular person was captain and they'd think, yeah, God, you know, it's an opportunity to, you know, go and have a bit
for him.
Yeah, have a bit of that and enjoy it. And so there's, like I say, that's very important because your captains end up becoming a lot of your marketing and a lot of your like selling points. And even just like I say, to get people involved, because you know there are certain players that they'll play for their captain. They'll play for the captain as a favour, you know. But I think you have to be careful not to underwhelm as well. Like that's why I think Barney and Phil are the obvious choices, because you almost need to make sure that everybody in every house in the country is sort of either mildly recognised or has heard of that your captains. Like it's got to be somebody who's bordering on it or as close to a household name as you can get.
Do you want to know what I'd call it as well?
The online darts trophy.
Other than that,
go on.
The Anderson Cup after the late great Kyle Anderson. That's
a very nice shout. Especially because you would expect as well that he would be represented by countrymen and friends, and you know, to doing it where, you know, if he did it around this time, obviously there are still people, you know, on that circuit who would play and would be selected and would be ranked high enough that were good friends with him, and I think that would be a very nice tribute.
I think so as well, and I think because players loved him and respected him so much, they would get behind it as well for that reason.
Yeah, that's another thing as well, is if you can do that and brand it as such, then you do go somewhere to getting more players on board as well.
He has, Paul, but with the greatest respect, it's a World Series event where this could be something huge. Or Rob, we'll call it the Kyle Anderson Cup.
Yeah, you can be more, but you can be more.
We can be more specific.
Yeah,
with it. But I just love those scenes. Like, it was incredible because at one point we were in our chat. I was genuinely worried yesterday at one point when all I could see was red on the left-hand side. It was like, surely they can't fuck this up.
Well, it was Medina in reverse, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it was on, like it was Medina in reverse was on, and it was there was potential to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, and it did get a bit nervous. Thankfully, I was well oiled enough by that time that I played a blinder yesterday. I managed to go to a Macmillan coffee morning that wasn't in the morning. It started at 12 o'clock and it was in a pub. And the day flowed beautifully from about 12 o'clock. Paying for it today.
I bet. Actually, look, we're not saying there's no prize money, but we're saying you don't get paid just for turning up. There is
if you've got a binary, like if you like, there is you either win or you lose. So that traditional darts pay structure of like the further you get, the more you get. You know, the more further you get in a tournament, the more you get paid. You haven't got that. You're not able to like pyramid the prize money because it's very binary. You are either the winner or the loser. So is there that everybody gets an appearance fee and the winner picks up this per player or something like that? Obviously you can't rank it. Obviously there's other bits and pieces you need to think about. You do feel like there's something, like, you know, we've seen a few tournaments be rebranded and but you know, darts is moving so quickly and developing so fast with a bigger audience and a bigger crowd and a different demographic. It's attracting different sponsors. It's attracting different types of money coming into it. And you do feel it's only a matter of time before we get something significant in terms of change, whether it's a big tournament drop and something new in its place or something with a different form. I am convinced that at some point somebody will think that they can come up with a format that will be more watchable to the casual fan. Like we've seen happen in cricket, and like we've seen happen in tennis, and like we've seen happen in golf, and like we've seen happen in loads of other sports. We've seen new formats of it developed that they think can appeal in a different way to either a younger demographic or a different type of fan or someone that comes from this type of background or whatever the goal is. I am absolutely convinced it's only a matter of time before we see that in darts. I don't know whether that's a format change. I don't know whether it's a thing where we see different types of darts game being played, cricket and other, not suggesting it specifically, but we see something different, or we see a different construct, something that's more like a team. I mean, let's be honest, if big, and I mean big, Saudi money came into the sport, then really what I think the most likely thing was that you would end up with the equivalent of like the IPL, where you'd have franchise teams of darts players playing in, and it'd go on every year, and it'd be 3 weeks or something like that, 3 weeks in when other things weren't going on, and people would, you'd have a franchise team of players, and you'd sign this player and that player, and you'd have male players and female players, and there would be a particular tournament that ran, and it would be very, very commercial, and then everyone would go back on and get on with what they were doing the rest of the year, because we've seen it in other sports. Like, there is precedent for it, and I have no idea what it's going to look like, but I'm absolutely convinced that something like that is on the horizon, because there's just too much going on. There's too many things going on in darts, and too many. As well, there's too many people with good ideas. Like, we are constantly talking to people who work in darts, and they really care about moving the sport forwards and the game forwards. And there are too many people with too many good ideas that sooner or later something will, or somebody who can write big checks will hear one of those good ideas and go, yeah, we'll give that a go. And the next thing you can change it completely, can't you?
No, I'm with you. I think it is only a matter of time until something gives. And you make a really good point that we see other sports that have done format changes to get the casual in, like with the 100 or the T20. Then we've got the 100 and so on. I agree with you. It's only a matter of time, because the younger demographic want everything yesterday. They want bang, they want bang, they want bang. They don't want, like snooker, you get a world champion over 2 days. The young demographic do not want that.
And what you have to remember is nobody cares what the likes of, let's be honest, the likes of us who watch loads of darts and do really care about it. The people who make those decisions, they do not care what we think about it. When they decide to do the 100 format cricket, like, they do not give a shit that the old traditionalists that really like to watch test matches, what they think about it. They don't care. What they think is the test cricket people won't go away. The darts geeks like you and I, we won't go away. We'll still be here because we like it. So what they need something that brings that, whether it's the younger audience, whether it's something we can market to people with, whether it's somewhere we can market to people more middle class with more money to spend, and we can do it in a different way and present it differently. And they do not, and nor should they really care about the other stuff that's gone before, because that's always going to be there. People will still watch that.
100%. And that's a good note, because our guest is here. So on the other side of this, we will have Mr. Scott Hunt. And just like magic, we are joined by Mr. Scott Hunt, Global Operations Director for the ADC. How are we doing, buddy?
Very well. And yourself? Good to meet you as well, Dan. I don't think we've been introduced yet, so nice to meet you, pal.
No, I don't think we have. I think we're that close that we could probably have sat in. I could have just invited you here, I think, with that.
I was listening to you there. I forgot how close you do. Yeah, just down half an hour down the road.
Just on the side of the A19. We could have done it at the services. Would have been fine.
Scott, first of all, great to have you on. Busy time of year for the ADC. All your finals coming up. The global on the horizon, which we'll talk about. How's 2025 been for the ADC?
Overall positive, yes. So if we focus and look at UK and Ireland, definitely. As you'll probably be aware, the vaults have grown. It's been launched 2.5 years now, just like 9 months. Fantastic. The tour was another success. hit maximum numbers, maximum entries at those events. The women's games kind of, we've brought some new faces through, given some new opportunities to the women. But overall, positive. We're moving in the right direction. And as I've said, probably 3 years ago when we had a first chat, that we just wanted to do things at the right time, take things slow, introduce the new ideas at the right time. And I think we're starting to do that. But yeah, been a positive year all around.
Yeah, look, we see the footprint that you are putting down in the amateur game. How important is that you say, like, you get it right so you are still here in 20 years?
Of course, well, that was the idea. Build the foundations, make sure that we work from the bottom up. It's as simple as that. We've obviously done different things. The tour was launched early on. That is a bit of a marketing campaign just to get our name out there, say, look, here, we're here. But we'll work from the bottom up. We're looking after the grassroots players, right from your local venue right through to now the global stage. And that's the idea. And as long as we've got those layers and foundations there, I'm sure it'll keep moving and we'll keep going in the right direction.
Look, the Vaults has been arguably the biggest success of the ADC so far. One, how did the concept come about? And two, how many players weekly do you have now playing in the Vaults?
So, yeah, it would have been, it's 2.5 years now, it would have been the back end of 2022. I believe it was around about October time. I had an idea. I went to a venue. They were playing round robin. They're playing fast fire format, best of 3. And I thought, wow, this is exciting. I enjoyed the night. I thought there's something in this. I was really engaged. So I got back home, put me, my thinking cap on and worked in a bit. How can we build that up and create opportunities at lower level, right through to regional, up to national, and now you can qualify right through to the global stage. So it came about, back in November. I launched it as a one-man band. It took about 6 weeks to get up and running. Back then, I did all my own design, all my own marketing, everything like that was just kind of single-handedly. So got that going January. We start with 29 events in January. We're now up to over 450 weekly events. Players-wise, you're talking probably circa around 10,000 active members every single week. We've got double that in memberships across UK and Ireland, but we've got around about 10,000 active players every single week.
That's mad.
It is crazy. It's
huge, isn't it? It's massive.
Yeah, and I feel we're working a lot behind the scenes now. We're restructuring the business, and we're looking forward to the future and how we can keep moving forward and evolving. And I don't even think we've touched a service. We want to try and introduce this properly in Europe. We are in Europe. We're operating in the southern Europe with the Vault that is running over there, but we want to try and take it into mainland Europe, northern Europe, and beyond. We're in talks with North America and Australia as well to introduce this concept over there.
That's just remarkable how that's changed the landscape of the amateur game within the UK.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
Beforehand, League Darts used to rule everything, but now it's very much an individual sport.
Definitely. Well, things changed after COVID. The idea of MAD back in the day, the kind of blueprint changed. And as you just touched on it there, that the younger demographic, they want to be, it's fast fire. They want to be up playing, and you've seen yourselves, these juniors coming through, they just want to be playing darts. Your normal standard Friday night, no disrespect to these leagues, the foundations of the sport, all these pub teams and pub leagues are superb. I started there myself, but all these youngsters coming through, they want to be playing darts. They don't want to be sitting down watching other people playing. You want to be engaged, up playing, fast fire, and away you go. And look what it's doing. It's producing some fantastic players. And the people that are actually coming through our system now, our global championships in December last year, we had 4 of those in the 8 went on to get a tour card. So it's just showing that we are producing the best of the best.
Do you think that the timings worked well? Because when I go on the website and there's masses of data, and it's well presented. And I know that the database sits behind that and it tracks all the match. But do you think that you've almost fallen lucky that you've come along doing this at a time where all of these systems can be put in place really? No, I'm not saying easily, but into all the venues, everything's electronic, everything's online, so that what people are looking for, like you say, the younger players, they can see all of their stats, they can see where they are in the rankings, they can see what they need to do, and it's not having someone to try and work it all out. Really, it must be all automated to a degree.
100%. Going back to COVID, even those that weren't too familiar with how to use technology and phones and webcams and stuff like that, tech was huge during COVID, because those online competitions that I ran myself, and I was running weekly 256-man comps with the Australians and Americans in. We kind of, all these players are now playing the system. So I've touched what I was going to say there. The tech. So all these people that, that weren't familiar with tech and using phones and ranking tables and seeing where they are, that they kind of introducing them. And then as we kind of came out of COVID and tablets and Darts Atlas, obviously we spoke to Matt, and Matt was aligned in his vision and what we want to do with the game, and it's worked hand in hand, and we're obviously taking the sport to new heights.
Love that. Just the whole concept. Now, how do you now go to the next level? Like, I know you said you're restructuring behind the scenes and whatever, because this is from a media point of view. The one criticism is I don't see the ADC out there enough, because the information isn't there for media outlets to get hold of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, we've had a conversation on this. So we are building a media and creative team. We're going to have that in place. We are going to hopefully link up with yourselves more, Darts World Magazine, other partners. We are going to win more, are going to jump on board and be a bit more working towards together collaboration. We work perfectly with the Motor Super Series. Obviously, we've got 4 qualifiers every single week on the show. But yes, that is a criticism, and that's why we are restructuring behind the scenes and putting people in place that will take the lead and take us into the next level. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting in terms of the global championship. That's your flagship, which, as I say, second one this year is incredible. What's the long-term aim and plan for the ADC Global Championship? Where would you like it in 5-10 years?
To be honest, I don't look that far ahead. But if it was, as a pipe dream, national TV in a big venue, we're doing, like I've just mentioned, we're doing things right. We needed to get something on. We needed to create that pathway. And like the PDC Worlds, they got an event on, they made something happen, and then evolved into every year. And look at it now, it's an absolute monster. So we've done that. We've got something up. Obviously, as mentioned, the Motor Super Series, perfect partnership there. They're going to help us take us to the new heights. But yeah, to go back to your question, a decent arena size, I don't want to put a figure on it, but take bums on seats every session, and potentially a 1-2-8 competition. That would be perfect, with the largest amateur prize fund ever underneath the PDC circuit. That would be perfect.
Well, we've already seen, you touched on the prize money there, £60,000 for the winner of this year's. That really gives players a decision to make. And I'm not going to bash other organisations. I wouldn't ask you to either. But that prize money genuinely gives players a decision to make.
Of course, yeah. So our USP is, at the moment, local darts, national scale. So you can play in your local venues and climb the ladder, climb any kind of system. Because we've got plenty of concepts now where you can only play once a week. You can play at a competition that will get you ranking points on a certain ranking ladder. If you want to play multiple times a week, you can do, and you've got different opportunities there. But yeah, our USP is playing. You can qualify from local right up to the global stage. And touching on the prize money, I think I was counting up. If I go back through all my stats and figures, I believe we're paying out around about 1.3 million this calendar year in prize money across all our concepts.
I think it's having that route as well is, everyone's quite used to seeing people lift big checks in darts, but I think it can, obviously to lots of people, that first of all, if you have to be a particular level of dart player, but even just to get the opportunity to play, we see an awful lot of stuff where you need to be invited somewhere. You need to make sure that you have the right connection or the right management in order to get yourself in with that shot of that money. Whereas with that, I can go to a local pub, and as long as I keep winning darts matches, I can get to that money. Like, it's just and I just think it's quite. There are very few opportunities where where if you are just a man on the street, you can get them. There's no barrier other than how many darts matches you win. And I think it's quite a nice.
Definitely.
It's a nice thing.
I believe we've discussed this before. Paul Nicholson's always mentioned that there was a financial barrier there. That, like you said, players that were already sponsored and had a little bit of backing, or they could back themselves, could qualify to play with these tournaments. Now, I use prime example, Johnny Barnes in the Northeast. I don't know if you're familiar with Johnny, based in Darlington. He has really took advantage of the system plays all his local events in the area, and I believe he's maybe second or third in the UK ranking, so he's nailed on to get in the Global Championship via playing those local opens. So it's perfect just for the average player that has got potential and has got a skill such as Johnny. So yeah, proud of what we've done and proud of what we can put on.
With the vaults and so on, I must admit I don't know the rules inside out and so on, but in certain areas of the UK, obviously there's going to be more than others. Is there a balancing act between how many you get ranking points for and so on?
Yeah, so it's based on number of participants. So we have a three-tier structure of points. So it's a bronze, silver, and gold. Anything from 17 to 24 players is a gold ranking event. You get maximum points, 32 for the winner, broken down. Silver is the next level, and then bronze based on under eight players. But the reason we've got that in place is, for one, it drives the players, the venues, to sell out their events. Everyone wants maximum points, so it drives it. And it's player demand. They'll go to the busiest venues. It drives like engagement and more momentum. And those venues that do sell out quickly, those players then want something closer to them, so they open a new event, and that's how it's kind of spiraled into what it is. But I believe Southeastern London, your neck of the woods, is one of the strongest at the moment. They've got the most. I think last series we paid out over £20,000 just in one series. So going well.
So I use the Colin Lloyd situation back in the day at the PDC when he was world number one, but everyone knew Phil was the best player. But he used to go around hoovering up ranking points from everything. Is it the same with the vaults? If I did 20 and someone only does 2, is the one that does 20 going to get all the points for everyone he plays in? No.
So we have when we initially started, yes, that was the concept, but obviously we've tweaked and tinkered with how things work. We used to run a 12-week series. I felt it dipped up after 2 months, after 8 weeks, so we scaled it down to 7 weeks, which works perfectly. And regards to ranking points, we have the best 10 performances, so you can play as many as you want, but only your best 10 work. And this gives those that can only potentially play 1 or twice a week, they can still, gain the opportunities that the other players are. So we've ranked it like that. And then if you're tied on points, for example, if you max out at 320, it goes on average. So you're running average for over the series.
I like that. Like I say, I'm not where I don't play in them. I only like to get out on social. So that's really good. Rob said in the chat room, with your tour events for 2026, are we going to see some stream games, perhaps? Because that will help bring a level of almost go, hang on a minute, I can play on the stream, I can be on TV, but also the public can then see the results and see these players and what they're doing.
Of course, it's always been our idea to do this, definitely. There's a number of reasons why we introduced it in the beginning. It was one of my main points. I wanted to bring streaming, and we did run it. But behind the scenes, both cost and logistics and everything that goes into putting these events on and making sure they work, we first and foremost, we want a successful event, and it's the players are at heart. And if anything else is going to damage that, then we didn't want to do it, and that's why. But I believe next year will be the time we introduce streaming back. Actually had a conversation this morning. It's actually on our agenda to get it working. Just out there for all our listeners as well, we have some news coming out this week regarding the 2026 tour. We're going to be, for those that are listening, I'll introduce it now so you know before we do go out public. We're going to split the tour in half next year. So we're going to have a North tour based in Middlesbrough, and we're going to have a South tour based in Bradmore. The reason is, obviously, gaining feedback. I always use player feedback for our concepts and to evolve, and we feel that travel expenses, hotel, everything, it is just a little bit high. So it helps those players that can't travel 4 or 5 hours and stay in a £200 a night hotel that can do so vice versa. So yes, we're going to break it down into a North tour and the South tour. We're going to inject an extra £50,000 into the tour. So the tour is going to be collective, men and women, is going to be £120,000 on offer next year. So how that works is we're going to have the top 8 from the North and the top 8 from the South to make a top 16, which will be held over 2 days at Modus Live Lounge, with the last 16 on the Saturday and the quarterfinals on the Sunday. And we're going to be doubling that price. We're going to do £10,000 for both the men and women, with £3,000 to the winner. So the reason behind that, again, is just bringing opportunities closer to home. We're going to trial it, see how it goes. It will always keep evolving. And I think, and just to make a note that any player can play any event. It's not specifically just for North players. Depending on your postcode or where you live, you can play either. None of those dates will clash. So it's going to be 6 weekends of the year that we're going to play. I've got the calendar sorted. We've missed all the key dates. It's an absolute minefield to put a tour together this year. Obviously, we had to wait till the Pinnacle PDC came out and released their dates, and I had to move a couple, but I always work one step ahead and have provisional dates with these venues ready to go. But just to round that off, it's Middlesbrough in the north, Bradmere in the south, and we're going to double the opportunities for 16 players to play live on TV. To
be fair, I really like that because I see the county structure and the issues and the arguments that causes with the travel and so on, and that's one of the biggest arguments around the county scene. I know it's obviously the county scene doesn't worry you, but I like the fact that you've listened to that. So that's a really good move. I'm a fan of that.
Spot on, yeah. It's like the county system. It's a massive part of grassroots darts, and more activity and more people playing darts is the best. Better for everyone, and we use that, and we'll, it's definitely.
It makes my heart burst after the amount of miles so regular viewers and listeners are very familiar with me ranting about the amount of miles that I have to put in driving up and down motorways to get to darts things, because Teesside is not a place that generally attracts exciting things for people to bring to Teesside. So yeah, the idea that something like that is going on in Teesside, it genuinely fills me with a great amount of happiness. I'm very pleased to hear that.
A lot of our team are based in the north as well, so it works for both. Bradmere, obviously, it's the home of the ADC. It's a superb venue, and I do recommend, if anyone's listening, get yourself to Bradmere Farm next year, because it is one of the best venues in the UK, probably Europe, and potentially the world. It's superb.
No, I really like that. There's a question here from Moran, which is a good one, and I brought this up quite a lot. Has there been any discussions to work with the PDC ? It would be a great way to fill the UK Open qualifier spots, for example. I've said this for a while that I thought the ADC should run the amateur qualifiers, but that's another story. Is there anything in the pipeline?
We've had conversations in the past. I'm not going to say how they've went. They were positive, but no, there's nothing in the pipeline. Fully transparent, and to answer that question, we've had discussions. It's a dream for me. It would be fantastic with the PDC. Who wouldn't? And it would be another step up for our players. So yeah, potentially in the future, we'll see how things go.
Just out of interest, if Matt or Barry come to you tomorrow and went, Scott, can you run the qualifiers? Could the ADC put the UK qualifiers on tomorrow?
Yeah, I've already put the plans in place. It's been sat there for 2-3 years waiting for this. But 100% we could. Yeah, all our regional directors, which are massive, kind of, the fantastic, real kind of the foundations of grassroots right up. Our regional directors sit there and they've done wonders to get where we are. And I know if we were to put on 8 or 16 qualifiers tomorrow, I would have the right people to run them.
Look, we know that obviously you've been involved at the top end. Obviously, Adam, you've seen him go through the PDC as well. But everyone seems to forget, how important is it for the sport that the amateur game is flourishing and right?
Oh, just from the PDCs, like marketing, who they're marketing to. If you're engaged with the bottom level, you're only going to grow your business and grow your kind of viewership and sponsorship and spectators, tickets, everything like that. So having that full ladder, very similar to the football academy system, where you can go in at a young age, you can train, you can play and compete at the same level of ability people, and you get trained and have that ladder right up to the professional game. That's what we've tried to create. We've introduced a new concept via the vaults, which is the level up, which gives social, and kind of intermediate players that their own kind of ability category levels. So we have 3 regional finals days at the back end of the vault based on your running average over that series. So as long as you play 5 vault events in one series, you will qualify for a certain finals day based on your ability level, which goes from under 55, under 65, and under 77.5 running averages. So again, it's giving out those players the opportunity to get, later stages of competitions that potentially they would only get past the first round in these open knockouts. So it's kind of growing the game and giving every person an opportunity.
To be fair, I actually really like that. And was that important to you, that level up idea, not just to compensate for the semi-pro player, shall we say?
Yeah, so this idea has been in the back burner for about 4 years, but it was just we couldn't police it and introduce it at that time because there was no rankings on level. So we're at that point now that we can do so. And I think it's got some legs, and we've got some really good ideas that we want to introduce for the level up. We now introduce level up at national finals as well. So anyone with a ranking that plays throughout the series can qualify for national finals and play at a big festival with the same ability category.
Absolutely love that. So what else have we got to look forward to in 2026 from the ADC?
Well, yeah, the tour. So that's going to be our main, like I said, injecting £50,000 into across that. That's the main thing. We want to try and grow that and build that. We do have some more ideas. I won't go into them just yet, but we've got some other concepts we want to introduce. But as I've mentioned many times before, we'll only do it when the time's right. And at the minute, growing our base and memberships across the country, making sure these vaults are expanding and everyone's getting an opportunity in their area, because we still need to, branch out a little bit further and make sure, because there's so many good players out there that can't get to these events that maybe just a little bit too far away. So as long as we can start catering for them and get them sorted, then I think that's the next step, and then we will introduce some new ideas.
Is there any area that you are sparse on in particular?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't. Probably the east side. Lincolnshire way, I believe. I'll have to speak to Fletch, our Midlands director, just to make sure. But I'm sure he's been tapping into that area. But that's with our media and strategy. We've got a new guy involved now, and we're going to start focusing on these kind of campaigns and getting in a membership drive, venue drive, and in time I'm sure we'll get there.
Scott, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate, talking through the ADC. I thought it'd be good to get you on, obviously, because there's plenty coming up through the ADC and so on. But before we let you go, the global, what can we expect across the 2 weeks? Yeah, so we are it's launched on December the 1st. So we will have 8 days of 8 group stage action. So we'll have stage 1 is the group stages. Then we'll move into stage 2, which is the knockout group stages. And then the top 8 will qualify for the grand final. So on December the 1st, we'll have every Group A, for example, will be on December the 1st. Group B will be on December the 2nd, and so on. And then the knockout groups will follow in a morning session and an afternoon session. Live on Pluto TV, 56 players, 8 groups of 7. The top 4 will advance to the knockout stages. And it'll be 8 groups of 4, and only the top player will qualify for the grand final. And we will be holding the grand final on, I believe it's Sunday the 4th of January after the PDC Worlds. And that'll be live on Pluto TV. I was about to say, was that important for you that you didn't clash after? Because that was my criticism last year, that the finals was on and all of the world's media was at Ali Pali, and everyone kind of forgot that Devon won. Yeah, no, it's exactly why we've done it. We're going to use the momentum of the PDC and the darts buzz over Christmas. We'll have a 2-week campaign from when the knockout stages and plow straight through into Sunday the 4th of January, and hopefully we'll get some new eyeballs on the game and watching the amateur sport. Yeah, Scott, absolute pleasure to have you on. Thanks for taking the time to come and speak to us, buddy. Massively appreciate it. Any help we can give you, mate, just shout. I will do. Thanks a lot. Nice to meet you, Dan. Speak to you soon, guys. You too, Thanks a lot. Mr. Scott Hunt from the ADC. Thank you very much, buddy. I love that. That was really refreshing. There was some another excellent job on the booking, Philip. Another well played. But no, it's genuinely fascinating, isn't it? Because it's nice because we talk so much about the very the 1% at the top of darts. That most of the matches we talk about, most of the people, most of the we spend half an hour talking about fictitious tournaments that the very top 0.5% of players in the world might get the chance to play in. And it's genuinely refreshing and interesting to hear about how things are going in that amateur. I think it's huge, and it's even just in the local area. So what I've noticed is, we've said for years, or the last few years, that we know the darts in the social sort of culture is increasing. More people are aware of it. More people are picking up a set of darts. More people are willing to go and play darts for the first time. I think the way that, there's a couple of venues that I've played in
in a Sunday league round here that are vault venues, and in order to be venues for the vault, they've had to spec themselves up in a particular way. They need iPads and they need apps and they need particular standard of lighting and everything. So you then end up with people playing in a really nice environment and getting a good feeling for what playing darts is. I think there is I genuinely still believe that there are people who come to darts for the first time and they're terrified of the maths. I honestly think it's a real barrier to people who take up darts, is that they shit themselves if they're in a pub and everyone's watching and they have to do the maths quick. I think there's loads of people that panic and don't. If you've watched darts and played darts all your life, you don't do the maths. It's just patterns. You don't actually do sums in your head. But if you're taking up darts for the first time, you can panic like mad if everyone's watching you in the pub. It's one thing. I think people are more frightened of people watching them do the maths than they are watching them throw the darts. I think it's a genuine thing. So I think, the amateur game now being set up with electronic devices, with technology, the fact that I can see, like from here in Teesside, the amount of data and rankings and averages and match histories and everything for like thousands, quite literally thousands of players in all corners of the world is like, it's unbelievable. It's so cool. And it sounds like things are going to keep getting better. Obviously, there's more money coming in to the ADC, or there's more money that's being generated that's then being invested. The geographical thing, I think, is superb. Certainly the fact that one of them's going to be in Teesside is amazing. It's difficult to come up with much of an issue with it, and I think where people have got an issue, I think, well, what the fuck do you expect then? Like, what do you want? Because I think that you look at the impact that it's having. Like, I do see an awful lot of positive. People talking about the fact that they've been to these events, they've had an experience that they wouldn't normally get. They feel like they've gone and played in a proper tournament. They feel like, and it's I think socially, and also just giving people fun and interesting experiences that involve darts is very cool. Very cool.
Yes, right. The European Tour at the weekend, there were so many subplots.
It was bonkers, wasn't it?
To this, but the main subplot was none other than this man. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Is he not even in the chat room? Is he? But he's I mean, good on him. We talked about it, didn't we? We talked for ages about could he, would he, and how would of those players that were in that mix that had the possibility of making it. What were the potentials, and who could end up potentially playing each other? Who could run ahead and nick it? We talked a lot about players that had a potential to go and have a deep run. I'll be honest, of the players that we talked about, I think we probably mentioned him as the least likely, I think, to do. I think we shone the light on everybody else. We talked a lot about William O'Connor and Petrescu might do a bit. We always talk about Michael Smith because it's so unusual to see him there. He was still getting used to it. But yeah, good on him. He turned up and he did what he needed to do, and he played all the matches that he needed to play, and good on him.
Yeah, look, it was heartwarming. Look, the way he played brilliantly to beat Damon Heta. That was the big game, was that he was fully expected to come through that first game, and he did. But when you go and play the number 7 seed, that's the one. It's
I also think in doing so, and it's just going to sound really patronising because of what he's done in the game and the level of which that he has played darts on television, the trophies that he's won, then it does sound a bit patronising. But he hasn't been in a space where he's been winning those games for quite some time. Those are games where, you know, he plays somebody ranked, you know, the 7th seed who averages 95 and goes to a deciding leg. They aren't games that Barney's been winning. He hasn't been picking up those wins of late. It's our part of the reason why he was so cuspy in terms of qualification. But to see that, you know, he has dug in and he's been very stubborn there, and he's managed to find that, you know, just shy of 99 average, winning a deciding leg. You know, and then he's, you know, he's gone further. I do think he's probably caught Ed House a little bit cold, because he's done an absolute demolition job there when he's done him 6-0. But yeah, what a weekend for him. And do I think that the event is richer for having him in it? Yeah, I do. If you look at the alternatives, we look at the people that could have nicked in there. Do I think that it's a slightly better, more prestigious event for having Barney there? Yeah, I think, you know, he is who he is, isn't he? And you couldn't say he hadn't earned it, because, you know, when you have to win to get somewhere, that's where he did. He won when it mattered.
100%. He was miles behind. Everyone was like, nah, it stays as it is. But as time went on, you just had this feeling and this sense that something was happening, and it did happen. It was great. And look, unfortunately, that game against Ed House had so many implications. One, it qualified Barney for the World Grand Prix. If he'd lost, he wouldn't have been going. And also, with the defeat, it means Ed House will not get the chance to defend his European crown, because he's not ET14 and he's outside the green. So the defense will not happen.
Yeah, and again, I think we're not. I think we're not really surprised by that. You know, Richie hasn't backed that win up in any way, really. Like, it just hasn't. Like, the win was great. It was a lovely story. It was very exciting. It was loads of fun. He's obviously put a few quid in his pocket in doing so, like, which you can't knock that. But, you know, when you look at what he's done since then, like, since that win, you know, three events in a row, didn't get past the second round, the Slam, the Players' Championships, second round of the World Championships, prelim round out at the Masters, you know, fourth round of the UK Open, but nothing, you know, didn't really do much to get there. And then he's qualified for now, since, you know, there's nothing left now, you know, so didn't get to the match play, isn't at the Grand Prix, isn't at the European Championships. Like, so then it's looking a bit worrying. But is it looking a bit worrying? Or, and again, it's with the greatest of respect that I say this, is Richie Edhouse, after a rogue, completely unexpected rags to riches victory, reverted to sort of what we always expected him to be, which is a player who'll sort of teeter around the top 30, maybe?
Possibly, yeah. I don't disagree with that.
You know, like, and there's nothing wrong with that, and there's no shame in it at all. But, like, if you'd have asked me if you'd asked me before the European Championship win and said, well, you know, where's Richie Edhouse going to be? I'd say, oh, he's probably going to be consistently trying to get himself into that top 32. Like, consistently trying to get himself into that top 32. He'll qualify for some things. He won't qualify for other things. He'll sort of be there or thereabouts. He'll give everyone a decent game. That's sort of what his level is. And I just think after that win, he sort of got back to that. And like I say, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in it at all. He just had a fucking hell of a good run. But still, there's not that many people have done that. So good on him. So
we'll come back to that more in a minute. However, it was a bit later than I thought it was going to be, but we have got the draw for the 2025 World Grand Prix. And as if by magic, I can do this.
Oh, well done, Phil.
See, not just a pretty face.
You've been busy.
That is in draw bracket order as well. So halves 1 and 2 on the left-hand side, 3 and 4 on the right-hand side. And there is some unbelievable ties in round 1. Under this short format, I'm not sure anyone is safe here.
Yeah, there's some of them that I feel a bit sorry for. I mean, shit, you've got to feel for Jan van Veen, haven't you? Like, because really, like, it's just the worst game. It's the worst possible opening game, especially on a player like, and it's because, like, really, that should be a quarterfinal at least. Like, you know, and I know that it's because of the way the qualification has worked, and we won't see that going forward. We'll see them both seeded. But it's that stings a bit to see that in the opening round. I think there's a few people in trouble. You know, I think there's a few that will be looking at their draw and think, oh, I'm in the shit. But again, some happy as well. I think James Wade's probably, you know, when you look at who we could have picked up, he'll take that against Joe Cullen, playing the way we've seen from Joe recently. I think the Michael and Dirk game is an interesting one. I think we could see anything in that. That could literally be anything. Averages could be for either man anywhere between 81 and 121. I have no idea what we're going to see. But yeah, look, I think the draw's great. I think it's a really nice draw. But there's some big opportunities there for players. You know, the players that have been playing well. You know, the players that have come
it's a shot a minute. Yeah,
with plenty of form. You know, Luke Humphreys will be looking at that draw, and he should be thinking, well, realistically, I should be targeting that quarterfinal, you know, without stressing myself out, you know. And then, and I think the same with James Wade as well. I think the way that James has played this year and the form that he's shown at big events, I think James should look at that quarter and think, yeah, I should be getting on to that quarter. But it's darts, isn't it? So we could see anything at all.
I want to go back to the Van Veen Littler game, and you say that, but also over a short format like this is, and the fact that this tournament didn't go according to plan for Luke last year, is this the perfect time to get him in round one?
Yeah, I think best of 3 sets round 1, isn't it? And you can be you can be beaten in that format before you've realised you're playing shit. Like, literally, before you've realised that you need to book your ideas up, it can just happen, and you're like, oh, shit, I only missed a few darts, now I'm out. And it is so fast that, yeah, perhaps that's the time to get him. But by the same token, if Luke starts fast, then you might not get a leg off him in that format. Like, it works both ways, doesn't it? You can, same with the big players, you know, you've got the potential to get at them, but by the same token, you know, if they turn up and they're at it straight away, then you could be in the shit like really, really quickly. And you know, there was a few players that we saw in last. I mean, to be honest, Van Veen was unlucky last year. He went out in the first round to Ross Smith. You know, 2-0 straight out. Thanks for coming back. And you know, if you meet somebody and you bump into someone who's at it, then you can't do a lot about it. You're just gonna have to pick your coat up and head for the door. I think I do. I really like the bracket though. I think the bracket is a really nice looking bracket.
Yeah, we'll come on to some predictions.
Mike De Decker can think himself fortunate, but not for very fucking long. Like he's all like coming in as a defending champion. He must have looked at the draw, looked at the bracket, and just got like, so round one right, Peter right, oh bollocks. Like he's gone, okay. It's not the route you'd want for Mike early on, but We'll see.
Yeah, Warren, I can tell. Look, they've never said this to me, but I can pretty much tell you the reason they don't do live draws is because you can't make it look polished like they do, where you have the names coming up and so on, and then the graphic at the end. That's why, because they want the polished thing for social media and so on. To do that live draw, you basically need to have a BT or a BBC or a Sky truck doing it all for you, and they haven't got that capability of doing that as part of a live draw. So they'd rather record it, put it all together, and then put it out. Whether people like that or not, that's the answer.
Yeah, it's too big a production operation. At a time where they haven't got access to those if obviously when there is something going on during a major tournament, those production facilities are all available, but not generally when they're putting a draw out, which is between things.
Yeah. So yeah, I can tell you that's the reason. Right, let's dive in. Let's go through the quarters. Quarter number 1. Chat room, come and get involved in this as well. Luke Humphreys, Nathan Aspinall, Martin Schindler, Christoph Ratajski. He played well at the weekend. Chris Dobie against Cameron Menzies and Rob Cross against Wessel Nyman. That's a tricky looking opening quarter.
I'm not convinced. I'm not so sure. I think it's Luke Humphreys and a collection of players who are all miles away from their top game at present. Perhaps, I think, there's Dobie's not where he should and needs to be. Neither's Rob Cross. Neither's Cam Menzies. Wessel Nyman is brilliant on his day, but he's a mixed bag. We don't quite know what we get with him. I think Schindler and Ratajski both have had an underwhelming 12 months, and Nathan Aspinall is where he is. I look at that and I think that Luke Humphreys, if he doesn't make that quarter final, he needs to have a proper investigation about how that could have happened. Because on form, on recent form, there is nobody in that quarter that can get near him. It's going to need somebody to produce something that they haven't for some time. And I don't just mean a particularly high average or something. I just mean like an ability to win important matches when it matters, which has been lacking from virtually all of those players for a little while. And it needs Humphreys to forget his darts or something, because I just think he's too far away at the minute for those collection of players. And I think if in another quarter, and I know he goes into it ranked number 1, so he has the benefit of getting 16, 8, and 9. So it is supposed to be like that. Make no mistake, it's been constructed to be like that. But when you look at some of the other quarters and you look at the seeds in them, and you start to think, there's a quarter there that's got the seeds of Bunting, Wade, Gary Anderson, and Danny Nopper. That's brutal in terms of the level of seed that's in that quarter. And I think that Humphreys has had a stroke.
Anthony is in, Mr. Eugenia, in the great state of Texas via the greatest city in the world, NYC. I hope you are good, my friend. Eden Andrew, I hope you are good. As we said, I agree with you. Humphreys comes through quarter 1. Quarter number 2, Stephen Bunting against Nico Springer. Danny Nopper against Jermaine Watamina. James Wade against Joe Cullen. And Gary Anderson against Raymond Van Barneveld. For pure nostalgic reasons, I am over the moon with that tie.
Correct. Yep, 100%. Happy to see that on a big stage. Happy to see that on the television. Again, I have no issue with it whatsoever. I think it's... do I think it's going to be a particularly competitive game? Alas, not. I don't feel that it will be. But short form could be chaotic. If you don't get it right straight away, like I say, you can have lost that match before you know you're playing shit. Before you've worked out that you're playing shit, you can have already lost that game. Yeah, I'm here for it all day. I don't think either one of them makes it out of that quarter, I'm afraid, because if I've learned anything in the last 12 months of watching lots and lots of darts, if you keep putting your 50p bet on James Wade to win a game of darts, more often than not, you will win. Because more often than not, James Wade wins darts matches, I'm afraid, this year. And he wins more than virtually everybody else does, especially on the telly. And over this format, I don't know whether it's good or bad for him, but I think he's playing too well. I think he won't flap. I think he doesn't know his beat. I think he can come from behind if he needs to. And I do feel, because the stats back it up, James Wade is the most informed player in that quarter.
Now, I think Bunting against Springer is a great opening round tie. I think that's really close to call, because I think
dangerous. Yeah, really dangerous.
However, this format, having not done it and so on, this may be a leveler.
Do you think it's a free hit though for Springer?
Yeah, I do. I agree.
I think you can play without any fear, can't you? You just turn up and enjoy the day. And sometimes that's when people win darts matches, when they just get up and, you know, allow themselves to be free.
Yeah. But do I do it? Do I do it to myself again? Do I prepare myself for more heartbreak? Because I agree with you, James Wade has been sensational this year. But can I bring myself to go against Gary? I'm going to manifest chaos. I've got Gary Anderson against Luke Humphries in the quarterfinals of the World Grand Prix.
Well, you know what's going to happen there, folks, because he's picked Gary Anderson, I picked James Wade. So get your fucking 50p on Danny Noppert coming through that quarter, because that's exactly what's going to happen now, isn't it?
Quarter number 3, Luke Littler against Jan van Veen, Peter Wright against Mike De Decker, Gerwin Price against Ryan Searle, and Josh Rock against Ryan Joyce. I think this is intriguing for a couple of reasons. One, that short format in round 1. Don't get me wrong. If you don't get Littler in round 1, for me, he walks himself to the quarterfinal.
Yep.
If you can get him there, it will be interesting. I think, if I remember rightly, Josh Rock didn't perform here last year.
No, he didn't. He went out in the first round 2-0. It didn't go well for.
I thought that was the case, that it didn't go well. So he's got a point to prove. I think he beats Ryan Joyce. I don't think Ryan Joyce is scoring heavy enough at the moment. We know he's brilliant on double 16, but if Josh Rock gets off, I think he outscores him.
I mean, yes. Although, do you know, it was the same fixture last year. It was Ryan Joyce.
Was it?
Yeah, it was the same. It was exactly the same draw. Ryan Joyce beat Josh Rock 2-0. I think it's a fascinating quarter. This. I think it's a really good quarter. I think, you know, regardless of what the tournament is or the format, I think if you see a quarter that has Luke Littler, Jan van Veen, Gerwin Price, and Josh Rock in it, then there's a lot to be excited about there, because there's an awful lot of potentially very, very high level darts matches that we can see there. There is always the potential that the winner comes from that list of players, you know, because realistically, like, they're that good, aren't they? I still think that there is something to come from Gezi. I still think he's got a pot in him in the very near future. Don't know which one it'll be, but I think he'll pick a pot up between now and Ali Pali. I don't know which one, but I think he'll get his hands on something between now and Ali Pali. I think it's a really interesting draw. But again, like I said about James Wade earlier, more often than not, Luke Littler will win darts matches. It's how it works. And I don't know whether Gerwin Price and Josh Rock having to meet each other before Luke Littler comes along is a great thing. I think that, you know, you can do yourself in a bit early with a tough game against a big game opponent.
So, who wins your quarter 3?
Littler. I know what you're manifesting, aren't you? This used to be my job. This used to be my. My job. Yeah.
I'm manifesting chaos.
You're going to go Ryan Joyce, aren't you?
No.
Not Peter Wright either.
No. I am going for a Welshman. I am going Gerwyn Price to win quarter 3.
Yeah, I find it.
If Littler beats Van Veen, I think he probably wins it. But with that banana skin, I'm just edging Gerwyn Price.
I think it's again. Whilst it's not the one I've picked, it wouldn't surprise me. Like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if he won the tournament. I think he's got a trophy in him between now and Ali Pali, and I'm not sure which one of them it'll be, but it'll be one of the 3. I think he's got a chance. But I just find it too hard to pick against the Wonder Kid because he is who he is and what he is.
Quarter number 3. Michael van Gerwen against Dirk van Duivenbode. Ross Smith against Daryl Gurney. The Ferret Johnny Clayton against Andrew Gilding. And Damon Heta against Luke Woodhouse. If you're MVG, I think you are relatively happy being in that little quarter.
Yes, I think it's a very comfortable
little segment, I think.
Little segment where you can sniff out victories and winnable games. But there is, and this is the problem, and whilst there isn't a lot of form in there, there's just a potential that Damon Heta, Ross Smith, potentially Dirk van Duivenbode, there is those players can turn up, and when they turn up, they play at a level that I'm not sure Michael can find. He struggled to find it. And if you get 2 A games at the minute, I don't know if he keeps pace. If we get relentless 180s from Ross Smith, if we start to see those players hit a groove, then anyone can do some damage. I'm not. I'm not too conflicted about who comes through this one. I think it's a Welshman coming through this quarter.
Interesting. Is that it, Paul? That's very, very sad. We know Ross pulled out of the European tour at the weekend, and it was for family reasons. And if that is the case, that is very, very sad, and not just me, but the team's heartfelt condolences to Smudger and his family at this very, very sad time.
Yeah, that's really crap. That's not.
It's
shit, unimaginable, really, and makes everything else seem a little bit less, important. Doesn't it? It doesn't really matter much, does it?
No. So, I think Michael beats Dirk, and I think he beats Ross or Gurney, which puts him into the quarterfinal, where I think he will play Johnny Clayton. I think Gilding's not playing particularly well. Woodhouse played lovely to get to the final. Eamon is very up and down. We don't know quite what we're going to get from the Heat at the moment. When it's good, it's very good. When it's off, it's slightly off. I just think the Ferret is playing at a level better than the others in that little segment. So
Agreed.
So I'm going to go MVG against Clayton. So, Dan and chat room, from your quarterfinalists, plot your winner.
Well, I've got semi-finals between Luke Humphreys and James Wade, and then Luke Littler and Johnny Clayton, which means the final is going to be Luke Littler's in the bottom half. Oh, balls to it. Then they've got to put him in the Premier League.
Are you manifesting?
James Wade beats Luke Littler in the final. He is inevitable, and he will become undeniable for a spot at the Premier League. You can't. He's gonna. Remind you, they've got some precedent. They can point to Mike Dedecker last year, can't they? It's like they're going to be just finding precedents anywhere.
If he wins this, he goes into the top 4 in the world.
This is and this is where we're at. See, so like it is. James Wade beat Luke Littler in the final.
Right, I have got a semi-final of Luke Humphries against Gary Anderson. I've talked myself into it. Luke Humphries makes the final from the top half. From the bottom half, I've got a semi-final of Gerwin Price can I bring myself to say it? I can't. Or can I? No, I can't. I've got an all-Welsh semi-final in the bottom half of the draw. I've got Gerwin Price against Johnny Clayton.
That's some match, though, isn't it? Like, we know who's going to be disappointed about getting to see that.
And I am going for a final between Luke Humphries and the Ferret. The Ferret is going to ferret. So my final, world number 1 against the Ferret, Johnny Clayton. And I am going for Cool Hand Luke Humphries to get his hands on that title again. 3 finals in 3 years. 2 titles in 3 years. Luke Humphries, I am going for.
I mean, it's a solid pick.
Don't get me wrong, Wayne. If that was the final, I would be all for a Gary Anderson, Luke Littler World Grand Prix final. Sign me up now.
Yes. Things we love to see. Just not sure that Gary's dialed in enough at the minute to come through who he's going to have to come through to get there. Like, it's a real top field, isn't it? And
it's interesting that he's playing all 3 days on the Pro Tour this week.
It is, which is equivalent for him doing a practice, isn't it? Like, that is the equivalent. Yeah. That is essential. That is
practice before he goes.
That is it. To anyone else, that would be having a practice, whereas he's just turned up for work for a few days, and that's his practice. He's all right. So yeah, I think, like I say, things we love to see, but I'm just not. I'm not sure that he's dialed in enough at the minute at that top form that could carry him that far through a tournament.
So, off the back of this, there is some high-profile absentees, and also this could be the last time that we potentially see some of these players at the World Grand Prix. Now, the one that completely has fallen off and misses out is Dave Chisnell. Now, this is the first time Dave Chisnell has missed the World Grand Prix since 2011. He's in danger of missing the European Championships. This is the first ranking event he's missed since coming over that requires you to win through a qualifier, like through a ranking.
Yeah. To be quite
the Grand Slam's ranked, but that trying to get in that is a minefield. And I'm also not counting the 2021 European Championships when there was only 2 events.
Yeah, it doesn't really count, does it?
That doesn't count.
No, I agree. It's not.
Dave Chisnell was number 1 seed on the Pro Tour for the. This is now a year-long slump.
It really.
Dave Chisnell.
It really is. And this is, this is an event as well that Dave Chisnell, traditionally does well, 2-time finalist, 2-time semi-finalist, 2-time quarterfinal. He generally doesn't turn up to this event and go out, early. He normally does well. It's been a happy hunting ground for Dave Chisnell over the years. And it is, I think, since he did, we had sort of year before last, the quarterfinals, the World Championships, and then since then it has been barren, and like really barren. And this is going to be a continued issue, because when you don't win things, you start to get on the slide. We've seen it with Peter Wright, we've seen it with Michael Smith, we've seen it with Nathan Aspinall. Is you start to get on the slide down the Werner ranking ladder. And when you start to slide down, all of a sudden you start to get these scenarios where you aren't actually qualified for things anymore. But then you slide further because you're not picking up that money from grabbing a win on telly.
Years ago.
And it's a double-edged sword, because you are suffering from the fact that you are on the slide down, and then you are sliding further because those around you are picking up money. They are taking those qualifying spots. So even those around you are turning up and going out in the first round, like they have been able to turn up and go out in the first round, but they've still picked up $7,500 on you. First round money at the Grand Prix, $7,500. So there's a $7,500 jump that everyone's got on Dave Chisnell, and he's not making $7,500 very often at the minute. So he slides further and further down, and then all of a sudden you start to look at other things that he might need to qualify for, and then you start to think, well, match play is a long way off, but I don't know, that's going to be a bit, things are going to get tough for Dave if he doesn't start winning darts matches fast.
Yeah, well, I was looking at his action's always been questionable, but at the weekend we've got 3 different follow-throughs. We've got one that went straight, one that jerked the other one, and then he was hooking like a backhand. It was technically, the action looks in bits.
It does, and I'm afraid it's as far. He looks a shadow of the player that we have seen in recent multiple. I know he's never won one on the telly, but this is a multiple time
Finalist.
TV finalist, semi-final. Didn't he semi-final of the Premier League?
Semi-final of the Worlds.
Yeah, this is a serious player who has not been able to find anything close, because when you look back through, it wasn't a question of the question that was always surrounding Dave Chisnell was whether or not he could win it. Like, that was the question. There were the conversations that we've had for years on here, was whether or not Dave Chisnell was able to lift the trophy. That's gone from whether or not he'll be able to lift the trophy to a conversations about whether or not he'll even be there in the first place. Whether or not he'll even be there to lose in the first round. We used to talk for ages about will this be the one? Will this be the one he picks up? We used to look at those draws when we were previewing TV events, and we'd have we'd be looking at it and go, yeah, Chisnell get the quarterfinalists there, and then you look at the record, it's backed up. Dave Chisnell made quarterfinal after quarterfinal after quarterfinal for years. Match play, he's 5 out of 6 quarterfinal runs. But it's a far cry at the minute. That action has broken down, and I don't know what happens to sort of bring that back around. I don't know if he's working with anyone. I don't know if he's got, I don't know whether he's working on it too much. I don't know whether he I don't know whether he's got an understanding of what's going wrong so that he can try and put it right. Something needs to happen though, otherwise he's gonna, it's a slippery slope once you start not qualifying for things, because it becomes very tough.
Peter Wright is another one that he's hung on to 15th spot in this, but when he goes to Dortmund in a month's time, he's defending the winner's check from 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's just timing. He's just been lucky that the big lump hasn't dropped off yet. That's all.
Again, Peter, that we've seen glimpses, we've seen performances sporadically, but the great Peter Wright, the genius Peter Wright, the entertainer Peter Wright doesn't seem to be there. Again, potentially, is this the last World Grand Prix that we see Snakebite?
Well, something's going to have to happen. Something serious is going to have to happen if it's not going to be. Like because again, like, you know, it's good luck and good timing that he finds himself at the Grand Prix. And it's just because that big lump of money hasn't dropped off yet, and it's got a few. It's on his ranking for a few more weeks. You look at the actual live. You know what he's qualified for, what he's picking up on, what's going to drop off between now and the end. You know that live tour card race drops him to 27th in the world, and like I say, it's very easy to drop from 27 outside the top 32 if you aren't qualifying for tournaments, because other people are. And like I say, first round losers money in these tournaments is big. You know, it's big. Once you've missed a couple of those, to people who've earned what Peter's earned in the past, you know, it can seem trivial amounts. I mean, you know, the $7.5 grand first round loser money here, but that $7.5 grand loser money could qualify him for another tournament, and then he gets loser money for that. Even if you go worst case scenario is still okay. Once you start not being in those events, not being on European tours, not being or having to qualify for them, like it's going to be a real slog to maintain a position there and then continue to qualify for events on TV. And I think with Peter, it's happened so quickly, like, because it has really. If you think, you know, it's not a very long time since Peter was at the very top of this sport. You know, we're talking, you know, he's won a major within the last 2 years.
He'll be in many people's top 10 of all time.
Yeah, but it's just not there. And there's no real signs, I don't think, no real signs of it coming back. Again, you know, we quarterfinal at the World Championships earlier in the year, but I'm unconvinced about the level, you know, the level that he found. You know, he beat James Wade, but I don't think James was at it really. Wesley Placier didn't put up much of a fight. Neither did Wattimena. You know, I think he was okay. I just don't know where it comes from. I'm afraid to say. I really like to see Peter at his best. I think he's incredibly watchable. I think he's been brilliant for darts. You know, 2 years on the bounce, I think, coming bottom of that Premier League. You know, and I thought having a year off the Premier League would be quite a good thing for Peter. Like I thought having a year off would allow him to maybe just refocus it and find a bit of something. But I think it's probably done more harm than good, to be honest. Unfortunately, because there's nothing really, I think, on an upward trajectory there at all.
Yeah, look, I just look at there was a final in Leicester at Players Championship 11, and we kind of thought, oh, he's found something, he's found a spark. But then the furthest he's gone in a Pro Tour is round 3. And look, I said this about MVG, and I say it about Peter Wright as well. Darts is in a better place when Peter Wright is playing well, because he entertains. He's an amazing player. He looks great at the moment as well. He's lost a load of weight and he looks good. And I hope that he can find that spark that gets him back, because, like I said, darts is in a much better place when Peter Wright is playing well. And will it be this week in Leicester? I don't know. The form would say not. But if anyone can do it, it's Peter.
It's you don't know where it's at as well, because he's played 2 of the last 8 Players Championships events, and therefore, like, you don't even know where he's at, what level he's coming in with. You don't know what he's coming with or where he's at, because he's playing so sporadically at the minute. We did see over the last couple of years big stretches of Players Championships events missed. He's obviously picked up. He's picked up 2 of the last 8. Be interesting to see what he can produce in Leicester. But he's going to have to produce something. He's going to have to produce it quick. What's this next one? Event 28 of 34?
Yeah, so 28, 29, and 30 over the next 3 days.
And then you've only got 3 left after that, haven't you?
Yeah,
4 left?
4 in Wigan.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that one, and I just look at the others. Dimitri van den Berg, nowhere near at the moment. There's so many question marks around players at the moment, and the standard is rising all the time. I think the next 6 months is really going to be interesting for some of these established names.
Oh, well, this is like we talked about it the other week, didn't we? But because if somebody had said to you 2 years ago that you'd be coming in to the Grand Prix and then just gave you a list of players that wouldn't be there, and that list included, Dave Chisnell, Michael Smith, Dimitri van den Berg, like the idea that these players wouldn't be at an event like this. If someone had said that to you 2 years ago, you wouldn't have believed it. You would have completely refused. Thought it makes no sense at all.
Again, I'm looking at the race for the European Championships. So just inside Rob Cross, Andrew Gilding, Christoph Ratajski, Peter's on 30 grand. I think he's probably safe. I don't see 5 people overtaking him with 1 Euro Tour event. So I think Peter makes it.
Especially looking at who's there, especially looking at who is in the chasing pack, because there's fuck all form amongst them.
Correct. But I look outside. Ed House not going to make it. Dave Chisnell outside. Joe Cullen outside. William O'Connor outside. Michael Smith outside. Won't make it. Hasn't qualified. Matt Campbell, Sedlacek, Hybrex, Lukeman, Sulovic, Mansell, Callum Ridds, Kordeka. The list of players that aren't going to Dortmund is huge. They all can't make it.
Yeah, it's sort of worrying, but then you look at the level. But then we go through the draw and we say we're really happy about it. We look at all these players that are in the potential matchups that you've got in there. It's just different names, isn't it? And everyone's there to be got. And if you don't keep winning darts matches, somebody else will, and someone will come and take your spot. And that's what's happening, really, isn't it? That's exactly what's going on.
Completely. Evening, Nels. How are we doing? Evening, Joe. I hope you are well. Yeah, it's interesting. I think the next 6 months are really fascinating for a lot of players and a lot of big players as well. And the last few weeks have highlighted that as well. That missing these events and so on, that it's going to be interesting. And whilst we're on that subject as well, the Players' Championship order of race is so interesting, to the point where MVG pulled out of the Euro Tour to make sure he played in these 3 Pro Tours. So at the moment, Littler is just inside, but he's only a grand inside. He's only playing in 2 of the 3 events. But again, would it surprise me if he went
but also if he ends up a grand outside, surely he's playing the 3rd, isn't he? He's not going to not go to Minehead.
No, he's got an exhibition on the Thursday, so
I better get a fucking taxi then, mate.
don't know to say. I'm not sure you can get from Leicester to Blackpool in that time to be there for the meet and greet.
We could. If there's a man that can do that, it's you. I think you are the man for that job. Like if for someone to get from darts venue to darts venue, like it's Phil Bars. That's you are the man to do that. There's a niche little service you need to offer out there. I think.
What do points make? Prizes.
I'll get you there. You don't you worry about that.
You just sit in the back and don't you worry.
Yeah, don't forget, he might not need to win it. He might just need to go through 3 rounds and then he can go. Like it doesn't. He's going to be. There'll be a target that he needs to get to.
But outside, Steve Lennon, Luke Humphreys is outside on
which
comeback.
Is farcical. That should not. For me as well. He is fucking like playing with fire there. He could get the shits and miss it. Like I just think you cannot leave it. You can't leave it that late. It's really silly.
I think both Lukes make it.
Of course they do, but I think you shouldn't play with fire in that way. Like you should just make sure you get there.
But Aspinall outside, Dylan Slevin outside, Cole, Bolton, Klassen, Hunt, Grundy, Bartons, Scott, Hempel, both a long way off.
I did not expect to see Connor Scott there.
No, I think he struggled a bit this year.
I did not. You know, the conversations we were having this time last year about how well he was doing, I did not expect a scenario where Connor Scott didn't get to Minehead. I couldn't. It's inconceivable from this time last year.
And then the big one is MVG, currently sat 103rd on the Players' Championship Order of Merit in the race for Minehead on £10,500. He's $9.5 grand outside. Does he make it?
No, his race is run, I'm afraid, mate. His race is run. I can't see it. I mean, it's 10 grand while everyone else is picking up a few quid as well, isn't it? I don't think so. Which would be very, 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 very strange, wouldn't it? Like that is it's an odd thing to it's an odd thing to conceive of. You know, like we've talked earlier on about Dave Chisnell, you know, and him not making particular events and stuff like that. If Michael Van Gerwen doesn't make it to Minehead for the Players' Championship finals, that will end, what's that, a 15-year run? 2009?
Was that the last time?
2009 was the first time he was there. He's never missed one. He's won it more times than most people get there. He's won it more times than most players qualify for it. But that is the first. If he doesn't make it, then that would be the first televised ranking event that he hasn't qualified for since 2011. Grand Prix 2011 was the last time that he didn't qualify for any. He missed the UK Open in 2017, but he was qualified for it.
That was a back injury.
Yeah, I was going to say he was qualified for it. He was a qualified player, obviously, because he had a tour card. And that, do you think? I mean, you know, do you think there's anything significant? Do you think he realizes, B cares, thinks there's any ceremonial thing about the first time that he doesn't qualify for something? Do you think it plays into his head at all, or
no?
I
don't think so. I'm just looking at, again, he's only played in, I think it's 12 out of 28 Pro Tours so far.
Well, that'll do it, won't it?
That you think those 12, even if you say he played in all of them, unlikely, I know. You win your first game, you're in the green.
But the problem is, Phil, if you look back over preceding years, he's playing in about as many events as he always plays in. It's just that he normally wins a couple. And then he does like he's realistically, his workload is about the same as normal. He doesn't normally play in every Players' Championship event. He doesn't. But when you look in previous years, he's won a couple of matches. He's won a couple of titles early on, won a couple of events, and then he knows he's pissed it. He's not at risk of not going to Minehead, so he's sorted. You know that you get particular years, like 2018, like of the first 5 that he played, he won 3 of them. Like, so he's fine, isn't he? Like, he turns up, he wins it, and he comes up another one, he wins it again. He's fine, but now he's not winning them. He's turning up to the same amount, but he's not winning them this time.
I'd never noticed this before. This is mad. 2016, he won 4 in a row.
Oh, yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah, and then hadn't bothered with the 10 before that. But you don't have to if you can turn up and win 4 on the spin, do you? You can have him off.
Not just that. 2016, right? He played in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He played in 10 Pro Tours, right? This is from.
I can see it. I know what you're looking at.
This is from Players' Championship 1. Quarterfinal, final, winner, final. Then took a hiatus. Winner, round 4.
Yeah, he's played in 10. He's won 5.
Final.
Yeah, he's won 5 and had finals in the other 3 of them. Like, it's ridiculous. But this is the issue he's got, is because his workload is quite similar. He's still turning up to about the same amount of events. But instead of winning like 5 out of 8 events, he's winning none out of 8 events. And
I hadn't paid that much attention, but that is fucking wild.
Yeah. Whereas this year, so if you think of the events that he's played in this year, he hasn't made a final. He has made 3 finals. He's made 3 finals in 3 years.
Yeah.
In Players' Championship events. Like, and if you think we go back a few years, and he's getting into a final 8 out of 10 times. He's now making 3 finals in 3 years. It's an annual thing now. He gets to 1 final a year. Don't win it.
That's mad. That's interesting, Che. Jules Van Dongen is apparently going to play in the last few Pro Tours. That's interesting.
Nice. It's a free hit for someone, isn't it?
Yeah. Good evening, Yankee Clipper. I hope you are good. Yeah, that's interesting. Should we open up question time? We haven't had a good question time for a while.
Oh, God, good old 7 minutes here for questions. Yeah, easy.
Yeah, we haven't had a really good question time for a while. As always, I will check the Discord group to see if there's any questions been chucked in since last time. Spacey 501, who do you guys think will be the next first-time winner of a major? Also, the next first-time winner of a Players' Championship title? The major, I think it's a straight scrap between Van Veen and Rock.
Yeah. I haven't got anything, I'm afraid, better than that. I don't think it's and I think if you say anything other than that, then you're just trying to be quirky. Whereas in reality, they are the 2 most likely players who haven't won one that are going to pick one up.
Yeah, 100%. Jamie asks, is Whitlock winning the Australian Premier League, or do you have a favourite player like Rob or Raymond Smith? I think Raymond Smith might win it.
Yeah, that would have been my pick. Like I haven't, whilst I haven't seen a lot of a lot of Simon playing because he's not playing with a tour card and he's playing exhibitions and things. But what I have seen of him hasn't convinced me that he's where he needs to be. And I think that there will be players that are in better form than him. We don't know a lot about a lot of those players' form because it's difficult to keep up with another tour on top of everything else we have to watch. But I think if I had to pick somebody, Raymond Smith is, I think, the most likely probably to be able to consistently put together the type of form that would be needed to win.
Yeah, I don't disagree there at all. Anthony says he's going to play left-handed, I believe. Cool. Kate asks, will James Wade be in the mix for the Premier League again? 100% he's in the mix right now.
He's already in the mix. And whether you love him or hate him, I think it's very, very, very hard to mount a coherent argument as to why he shouldn't be there. Because by every single measurement and metric that we make Premier League selections, James Wade meets them. He meets and exceeds the threshold. And you would have to start including players, if you didn't include him, that are not as deserving. But the hard rule has always been, and it's always been said to us, the top four are in. There is no selection criteria that goes on. We don't pick the top four. If you are in the top four, then you are in. And I cannot conceive of a scenario at all in which James Wade isn't in the top four when that Premier League selection comes around. I can't see that not being the case.
See, I can, and here's my worry, and hear me out. Now, Littler, Humphreys, and Van Gerwen, I think, are all nailed on for the top four. I don't see them dropping out. Now, the race for fourth at the moment is between Bunting, Clayton, and Wade. Now, let's just say either Bunting or Clayton finish in the top four. Wade finishes just outside. Now, I think, say Clayton's in the top four and gets in. If Bunting is, I think Bunting gets another go anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think Josh Rock is nailed on. I don't see a Premier League that doesn't have Josh Rock in it because he ticks every single metric and box that you want on and off the hockey. Now, if Going Price is ranked if James Wade is ranked 6th or 7th and Going Price is 9 or 10, I'm not sure they leave Going Price out of the Premier League.
No, I think I don't think Price gets dropped. I think Price is in.
So who are you leaving out then for Wade? The only plausible, Bunting's in the top four, so he's in. Johnny would be ranked above James. Are you leaving Rock out for him then?
No, I think so. I think it'd be Littler, Humphreys, MVG, Bunting, Clayton. That's 5. So I've got 3 left.
MVG, Humphreys, Van Gerwen, Bunting, Clayton. That's your 5. So you got 3.
Wade, Rock, and Price.
No, that doesn't work. Littler, Humphreys, Van Gerwen, Bunting. There's 4.
Yeah. Clayton, Wade, Rock, and Price. There's my other 4.
Right, okay. And
that is what I think it is, if I'm honest. Now, like where we're at today.
Yeah.
I think that's the 8. And I think it's a really tough argument to take one to put somebody in ahead of that 8. I think is a very, very tough argument. Unless somebody goes and wins a trophy. Unless a Van Veen or a Heta or a Dobie perhaps wins a trophy.
Remember,
Right, I
the,
think
the
it
World
needs.
Cup is going to be huge this year on this ranking because everything's doubled.
Yeah, it needs a trophy to take to shuffle that 8 that I think I've come up with there. It needs somebody to go and win something and almost insist upon being picked. Now, do I think there'll be certain people over the moon with a rogue trophy winner to shoehorn them, to justify, well, they get in ahead of someone because they've got that pot? Yeah, probably. But I think you've got to pick a trophy up if you want to be in, if you want that 8.
Yeah. Where was it? People. Barry, if I'm being honest, I didn't watch any of it. I've seen the bits on social media. Great result for the Irish women's team and that, yeah, but I didn't watch, which is why we've not really commented on it because I didn't watch any of it. So I can't really comment on it when I haven't watched it.
Times weren't particularly convenient. If you aren't nocturnal like me.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the reason I haven't watched any of it. I tell you what, time has absolutely flown by this evening.
Hasn't it? We didn't. Do you know what we've got? Have we got 2 hours in after this weekend and we haven't said core Decker? Have we not managed that? We haven't managed to. Poor lad hasn't been covered at all after his exploits at the weekend.
I tell you what, his boy in the front row, he gets a special mention because he was living every dart with his dad.
Good on him. But it's nice to see. I love that. Love it.
Yeah. Remember, this will be available as an audio only in the morning, wherever you get your podcasts from. It is a busy, busy week. We have loads of interviews coming your way and 3 live streams on the Bants. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Players' Championships 28, 29, and 30 exclusively here on Online Darts, keeping you up to date with absolutely everything. If you haven't yet, please drop us a like and subscribe because we massively appreciate it. But we will be live from 1 o'clock tomorrow. And then, of course, the World Grand Prix is coming up as well. And that's going to be busy for all of us here at OD. But again, massive round of applause. Thanks for our guest, Mr. Scott Hunt, was brilliant. I've been Phil Bars, Dan Simpson. We have been Online Darts, and we'll see you all very, very soon.